What's up, Raider Nation? I am Raider Glenn Diesel, and this is Commitment to bring you excellent podcast. Um, it's 3 weeks until the draft, so if you're like me, you're kind of waiting patiently, anticipation on who the next Raiders are going to be on this team. Uh, what are we going to do in the draft? Are we going to move up in the draft? Are we going to move back in the draft? Are we going to stay at 13? Are we going to pick best player available? Are we going to go quarterback? The mystery is unknown. Reason being is because we have a new general manager, first time general manager with us. He's been a general manager in the league for about 11 years. We have a first time head coach in Antonio Pierce. He did take over for 9 games last year as the interim head coach, but this is going to be his full time head coach, first year as a full-time head coach with us. So again, it's unknown. We don't know how they think, how they maneuver. Are they going to move up? Are they going to move back? You know, Tom Telesco's history, I think he's moved up once, maybe. I think he's moved back a couple times. So he's looks like he's a general manager that genuinely kind of stays put and drafts at his spot. So it's kind of unknown right now. It's going to get interesting. Definitely leading up to the draft. Like I said, again, we're about 3 weeks away. So I usually try to put out draft content leading up into the draft. So I'm going to do that again this year for you guys. But I'm going to add in a little something different to the podcast and bring something different to the table. I'm going to do basically a project and get you guys involved to kind of see, what you guys, think. And it's this little exercise is going to tie into the draft. So I think it's going to be pretty fun, little thing to do with you guys. So I'm gonna post the topic or the question to you guys, and that question is, what is the right blueprint to building a playoff or Super Bowl team? So the reason why I asked that is because different teams do it, or teams do it different. There's some that has built a team and then inserted a quarterback. They have inserted a quarterback and built around the quarterback. So there's different scenarios to building a team to be in a playoff and a Super Bowl team, but there's one common denominator, and that is the little exercise that I want to kind of do with you guys. And again, leading up to who I think we should draft in the draft. So I bring this question to the table of what is the right blueprint to building a playoff and a Super Bowl team. So I'm going to start with the obvious. I'm going to start with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is kind of how this team built their successful dynasty that they have going on right now. So 2012, they were 2-14. They fired their head coach. I didn't go back beyond 2012 because it was really doesn't really matter in this little scenario. What matters is what they brought in and what started their little success that Kansas City's kind of been on. So 2013, they hired Andy Reid, and Andy Reid brought over Alex Smith. So what he did was he brought in a veteran quarterback to come with him, and basically a quarterback that's above average, that can kind of keep the team afloat, keep the team above water, as he started to build the team that he wanted. You know what I'm saying? So he knew that he needed pieces on his team, and the best way to do it was to get a decent veteran quarterback that can, at least take him to the playoffs or whatever until the time is right, and get a quarterback. So they went 11-5. Andy Reid's first year with Alex Smith, and they made the playoffs. 2014 they went 9-7. 2015 they went 11-5. They made the playoffs. They lost in the divisional round. 2016 they went 12-4. Made the playoffs, lost in the divisional round. And 2017 they drafted Patrick Mahomes. They moved all the way up from 27 to 10 to draft what they felt was their franchise quarterback, a quarterback that they felt that was going to lead them into, the future, get them to the Super Bowl and, stuff like that. So even though they have Alex Smith on the team, and yes, he's taking them to the playoffs, they felt they needed just, something more. They knew Alex Smith's ceiling was here, and they needed someone that was above Alex Smith's ceiling. So in 2017, they basically set Patrick Mahomes for that year. Let him learn under a savvy vet and Alex Smith. Again, they were a playoff team, so they didn't really have to rush or be desperate to put him on the field because, again, Alex Smith was a capable quarterback to get you to the playoffs or whatever. So, and that's what they did. 10-6, they made the playoffs. They lost in the wild card round. So as you see, the years that he had Alex Smith, they either lost in the wild card round or they lost in the first round of the playoffs. So that was his ceiling. Okay. 2018, Patrick Mahomes' first year, they go 12-4. Patrick Mahomes is the MVP of the league, and he busts through Alex Smith's ceiling, which was either the first round of the playoffs or the wild card round, takes the team all the way to the conference championship game, which they lost to Tom Brady and the Patriots. Patriots went on to win and won the Super Bowl that year. So they lost to the Super Bowl winning team. The next year in 2019, they go 12-4 and they won a Super Bowl. So that's how one way to build a team is get yourself a savvy vet, build a team as you have that savvy vet. Again, you're not expecting much. If you get to the playoffs, great. But you're not expecting too much in the meantime until you get, like I said, till you get that franchise quarterback, which that's what Kansas City did. Or you can go a route like, say, Philadelphia did. So Philadelphia goes in and they had like two different scenarios. So kind of bear with me on this part. 2013, they go 10-6. They enter in Chip Kelly. That year, they fired their head coach in 2012. So Chip Kelly comes in 2013. They go 10-6. Made the playoffs, lost in the wild card game. 2014, they go 10-6, missed the playoffs. 2015, fired Chip Kelly, bring in Pat Schumer, and they brought in journeyman Sam Bradford. So this coach was like, okay, I'm going to bring in a savvy vet, former number one first round pick in Sam Bradford. Try to see if we can kind of do what Kansas City did, have a savvy veteran. Let's see if we can kind of, keep our heads above water, until we can, find our franchise quarterback. They go 7-9 that year. So in 2016, they go ahead and draft Carson Wentz with the second pick in the draft. So now they're looking at, okay, now we have a franchise quarterback. Okay, so now it's time for us to kind of roll. But they fire Pat Schumer and bring in Doug Peterson. So now Doug Peterson is a head coach. So how did that play out? They go 7-9. Carson Wentz first year. Second year in 2017, they go 13-3. As we know, Carson Wentz MVP season, he would have won MVP that year. I think it was like the week 15, I think it was, that he scrambles. They're in the red zone. He scrambles off to the right, tries to run the play in, gets his leg crushed, breaks his leg, and now he's out. But what they did before is back in 2012, I think it was, they drafted Nick Foles. So they went ahead and had a rookie quarterback already on a team, but they looked at it as, okay, we have this, quarterback that obviously that they don't feel that was the franchise quarterback, because if they did, they wouldn't have went out and brought in Sam Bradford back in 2015 if they thought that Nick Foles was the guy. So obviously they didn't think that Nick Foles was the guy. They just thought he was a above average quarterback, a good quarterback, a backup quarterback to have on the roster in case something like this happens. Whereas in injury to your starter. So in this case, that's what happened. Nick Foles comes in and he goes on a magical run, and they win a Super Bowl. So after that, they kind of stuck with Carson Wentz because he wasn't them 2 pick in the draft, even though that Nick Foles had that magical run. He did win a Super Bowl. They did not give him the job because they knew, okay, he's capped. His ceiling is this. Even though we did win a Super Bowl with him, you know what I'm saying? He was the Super Bowl MVP. We still have our franchise quarterback in Carson Wentz that we took with the 2nd pick in the draft. He was in the MVP conversation before he broke his leg. So 2018, they go 9-7. They lost the divisional round. 2019, they go 9-7, made the playoffs, lost in the wild card game. But they went ahead and paid Carson Wentz to a contract extension, 4 years, $128 million. So even though he quite wasn't the same as he was before he broke his leg, he was still getting to the playoffs. They still drafted him with the 2nd pick in the draft. So that they felt, okay, we got to pay him because we don't want him to walk. You know what I'm saying? And we don't have his predecessor on the roster. You know what I'm saying? So they went ahead and paid Carson Wentz when they knew that they probably will be coming off of him. So that's why in 2020 draft, they went ahead and drafted Jalen Hurts in the 2020 draft in the 2nd round. And they go 4-11. And then the next year, or during the offseason, they went ahead and found a team that would take Carson Wentz's contract, which the coach took that contract. They shipped him off to Indianapolis and that contract. And they were smart enough to get a quarterback in that draft in 2020 in Jalen Hurts, and gave him reins of the team. And in 2021, Jalen Hurts' first year makes the playoffs. They lost in the wild card game. They fired Doug Peterson, hired Nick Sirianni. 2012, they go 14-3, make the Super Bowl. 2023, they go 11-6, make the playoffs, and lost in the wild card game. So that's a lot to kind of digest. So during that, they were in flux with head coach, firing head coaches, bringing in new head coaches, drafting a Nick Foles in the draft, thinking he can be that franchise quarterback. Kind of wasn't the franchise quarterback. Brought in a journeyman in Sam Bradford, hoping to catch again, like what Kansas City did, lightning, in a bottle. A good savvy vet. He was a former number 1 pick first overall pick in the draft to maybe kind of, keep the team competitive, head above water, and still search for that franchise quarterback, which they did. They found one in Carson Wentz, and again, he was playing lights out. He was having some really good years until he broke his leg, and he just really hasn't been the same since. But he did get his team, to the, basically in position to go to Super Bowl. Nick Foles took the baton and kind of ran with it again with that magical run. So that's another way that you can kind of do it. Now, Cincinnati Bengals kind of did a little different. So they were looking at as, okay, so we need a franchise quarterback. We really don't have, we got this old, vet that's kind of on the back nine in Andy Dalton. So they knew that they had to get a franchise quarterback. So 2017, 7-9, 2018, 6-10, Marvin Lewis exits. He gets let go. 2019, they bring in Zach Taylor. They go 2-14. They go ahead and get rid of Andy Dalton. And in 2020, they draft Joe Burrow with the number 1 overall pick. Now, they didn't have a veteran on the roster as what Kansas City did and as what Philadelphia did. Like I said, they did something different. They went ahead and got the veteran out of the building. I mean, he's been there for so long. I mean, 12, 13 years that Andy Dalton was there. So it was kind of good to get him out of the building, let the rookie quarterback come in fresh. But, they didn't put someone in the room for competition. They basically said, okay, we're handing you the reins. This is going to be your team from day one. You are the number 1 pick in this draft. So, we're going to throw you out there, throw you out in the fire, which they did. They went 4-11. He gets hurt. I think he either tears his ACL or something like that. But I know it was like a lower leg injury. So he gets hurt, and they go 4-11. Now, in the meantime, they were still rebuilding. They still had a lot of pieces that they needed to fill on this team, but they felt like we're going to go ahead and get our franchise quarterback now while we have the opportunity. While the opportunity is here for us to take. So they went ahead and took their franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow. Now, 2021, they go 10-7, and they made the playoffs. They made it to the Super Bowl, which they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, it was a lot of things going on because I hear people, they kind of say, well, it's best to have a team around a young quarterback, or it's best to have a team already set and then go get that quarterback instead of getting the quarterback and trying to build around the quarterback. Again, like I said, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. And that's why I'm trying to give you different scenarios of how different teams did it. So in this case, they say, no, we're just going to go ahead and get the quarterback because we need this quarterback, and we're just going to build around him. And that's what they did. But he gets hurt his rookie year, and they're like, wait a minute, we need to get some line, help. We still need to kind of build this line for Joe, and so that way he can be successful. And they said, no, we need to get, Joe a weapon. So they went and got his college receiver and Jamar Chase, electing not to get Penei Sewell to protect Joe Burrow's blind side. But they continue to still try to build around. They went in free agency and got some pieces or whatever to try to solidify that line. But they still was in rebuild, kind of building, not rebuild, but kind of building mode around their franchise quarterback. In 2022, they go 12-4, made the playoffs, lost in the conference championship. So they went to the Super Bowl, still trying to get pieces, still trying to solidify that line. Instead of getting him some line help, they went out and got Jamar Chase as a weapon for him. And Joe Burrow was just fine. You know what I'm saying? He was able to kind of do his thing and made it back to the conference championship where they got beat. So back-to-back conference championships and one Super Bowl as they're still trying to build a team around Joe Burrow. 2023, they go 9-8. Again, Joe Burrow gets hurt. So that's 3 different teams and kind of 3 different ways to building that team. So again, that question, Raider Nation, is what is the right blueprint of building a playoff team or a playoff and or Super Bowl team? I'm gonna give you a couple more, and then we're gonna kind of digest this and get your thoughts. So 2014, or actually the Buffalo Bills. So again, kind of Buffalo Bills was kind of in the Philadelphia Eagles scenario where head coach in, head coach out, head coach in, head coach out. So a lot of flux, a lot of moving pieces going on, a lot of things being handed to them, and they got solidified once they got that steady piece. And you guys probably know what that steady piece is, but I'm gonna get there. So 2014, 9-7, Doug Marrone is out, and 2015, Buffalo Bills hires Rex Ryan, and he goes 8-8, 1 year. So now, second head coach in 2 years, fixing to be three head coaches in 3 years. 2016, enter in Anthony Lynn, out as Rex Ryan. They go 7-9. Now, 3 years, 3 head coaches, fixing to be 4 years, 4 head coaches. 2017, Anthony Lynn is out. Sean McDermott is in, and they made the playoffs going 9-7. Now, they looked at it as, okay, so they didn't have the right, basically, head coach. They didn't have the right leader in the building. So that's why they kept trying to, I guess, cycle through head coaches, because they wanted that solidified position. So that way, when they did go out and get the most important piece, which I told you I was going to come back to, that quarterback, that franchise quarterback, they needed somebody that was a stabilizer. You know what I'm saying? So if you haven't figured out just yet the right blueprint, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of give it to you a little bit. So, one, you got to have a head coach. You got to have a head coach that can lead men, that is that can put together game plans, that can make sure that all the assistant head coaches is doing their job, make sure that the product they put on the field is basically top notch, team, to where it's consistently the same word, the same message. The culture has to be set, and it starts with the head coach. So if you looked at the different scenarios as far as Eagles, and then now the Buffalo Bills, they had to get basically the right guy in the building. So they felt that Sean McDermott was that right guy, because in 4 years they had 4 different head coaches. They get Sean McDermott, they kept Sean McDermott, and then in 2018 they go out and they get their franchise quarterback in Josh Allen. They move up from 12 to 7. So basically they moved up. Kansas City moved up to get their quarterback. It wasn't sitting back and wasn't waiting if he falls, or I don't want to give up assets and all of that, or if he turns out to be a bust. No, they didn't have that fear factor. They didn't say, well, we can't do it because we don't have a team. We're still building. No, they said, we identified this is our franchise quarterback. Let's go get him. So that's what they did. They went up from 12-7, got their quarterback. They go 6-10. And then here's the run that they go on because they got their stabilizer in Sean McDermott in head coach, changed the whole morale, the whole culture in that building. And then they went ahead and got their franchise quarterback. And here's that run. 2019, they go 10-6, made the playoffs, lost in the wild card game. 2020, go 13-3, made the playoffs, lost in the conference championship game. They got beat by Kansas City. 13 seconds left in the game. They had the game won, and then Mahomes does his Superman, puts on Superman cape and does his Houdini trick, the magician, and comes back with 13 seconds. 2021, 11-6, made the playoffs, lost in the divisional round. 2022, 13-3, made the playoffs, lost in the divisional round. 2023, 11-6, made the playoffs, lost in the divisional round. So they made it to the playoffs 5 straight years. Excuse me. Once they got their franchise quarterback, obviously, Buffalo Bills is going to be there pretty much in and out, and that's the difference of having a franchise quarterback or having someone on the roster that is, that can get you to the playoffs, or every year is, are we going to make the playoffs or are we not going to make the playoffs? Are we going to be competitive or are we not going to be competitive? And that's what a above average, quarterback will do for you. Yeah, he can kind of win games for you. Yeah, you may have a season here and there where you make the playoffs or whatever, but it's no consistency. It's not, we know we're going to make the playoffs. It's, are we going to get to the Super Bowl this year? I mean, is Super Bowl in our cards or is it not? But one thing's for sure, that team is going to be in the playoffs because they got that franchise quarterback. They give themselves a chance to get into the dance. And then once you get in the dance, it's let the chips fall as they may. You know what I'm saying? But you got to get in the dance. And that's what these teams has done. And, how they got there wasn't the same, but it all basically all the success that they've had, even though it was done differently, they all had the same results. And why? Is because they had that franchise quarterback. I'm going to do 2 more for you. So the Miami Dolphins, 2018, they go 7-9, and Adam Gase gets let go. 2019, they enter in Brian Flores. They go 5-11. 2020, they draft Tua Tagovailoa, and they go 10-6, and they make the playoffs. 2021, they go 9-8. Brian Flores gets let go, and we're all sitting here, because Tua was a top 5 pick. Is Tua a bust? Everybody was sitting there talking about, Tua. That was a bad pick for them. Tua was a bust, and ready to run him out the building. Well, as you've seen, like I said, there's 2 pieces you got to have. 2 pieces to this blueprint. You got to have a head coach. You have to have a franchise quarterback. So obviously, I guess they did not have that head coach, because once they got Brian Flores out the building, they bring in Mike McDaniel. They go 9-8. They make the playoffs. They lost in the wild card. And then 2023, they go 11-6, made the playoffs. And Tua was in the MVP voting. So it turned from Tua was a bust, Tua couldn't play in this league, to Tua being in MVP voting, taking his team, 11-6, and taking his team to the playoffs 2 straight years. So head coach, franchise quarterback. But they were still building. That team wasn't set. Look at the pieces that they got for Tua this year. They got Tua. Still building around them. They got the offensive lineman. They got Tyreek Hill. They went out and got Devin Achane. They got multiple running backs, Jaden Wallow. So they were still continuing to build pieces around their franchise quarterback. They just didn't have the right man, leading them. And obviously, now they got Mike McDaniel. So last one. So here's one where, again, at the beginning of the podcast, I talked about how people were saying, well, I'd rather have everything, set than drop in a quarterback. I don't want to put a rookie quarterback into a situation where, there's so many pieces that needs to be filled, and we're not really, setting up the rookie quarterback for success. So why is it that, a team like Houston that really was dysfunctional with everything that was going on with them, everything that was going on in the building, head coaches flaming out, franchise quarterback in Deshaun Watson, they have to move on from him. So there's a lot of things going on in that building. We can't possibly bring in a franchise quarterback and expect him to be successful, or are we wasting the rookie scale? Him on a rookie scale, because we got so many different pieces that we need to be filled for him to succeed. But all CJ Stroud did was change that and change the narrative of, if you get a franchise quarterback, no matter how you try to do this thing, it can be done. And it all leads you all back to one thing. You get that franchise quarterback, you're going to be successful. Now, 2020, the Houston Texans was 4-12. Bill O'Brien gets let go. Like I said, Deshaun Watson gets let go. 2021, enter in David Culley, first-time head coach, and they draft Davis Mills in the 4th round. So they go ahead and draft their quarterback, which started day one in 2021. They go 4-13. 2022, enter in Lovie Smith, out David Culley, and again with their 4th round quarterback and Davis Mills, they go 3-13-1. So they drafted a quarterback in the 4th round, and with the hopes of, okay, we're building around, we're using our high picks on elite, prospects, defensive tackles, O-line help, cornerbacks, pieces like that, to where, once the time is right, we're going to get that franchise quarterback. So to go ahead and let the 4th round quarterback for 2 years, kind of do his thing. Again, see if we can get a Brock Purdy type situation here, where, a lower end quarterback, Dak Prescott, steps in and does above and beyond more than what was expected from a 4th round pick. You know what I'm saying? I think Dak's done a heck of a job in Dallas, whereas where he was drafted, and the success that he's had kind of overweighed where he was drafted. Obviously, Davis Mills did not, fulfill that potential. So when the time is right, Houston Texans goes ahead and gets their franchise quarterback, which they did in 2023. They let Lovie Smith go, bring in a first-time head coach in DeMeco Ryans, and they draft C.J. Stroud with the number 2 pick in the draft. Now, DeMeco Ryans is highly respected in the league, and he is a culture builder. And obviously, he changed that culture in that building because he had them guys hitting the ground running from day one. Had them buying in, believing in the message that he was sending, along with his franchise quarterback being able to show, this is what a franchise quarterback looks like, and this is what a franchise quarterback can do. And this is why Houston's looked at as one of the teams to beat. Like, this is not a mirage. That this is something that can be sustainable. Why? Because they feel that they have, and he has shown that, okay, I'm that type of quarterback. I am him. DeMeco Ryans is showing I'm him. As the head coach. So, however you want to slice it, however you want to look at it, however you want to build this thing, it can be done. So, Raider Nation, I ask you, so do we all not feel that Antonio Pierce has got the pulse of that locker room, has the pulse of these players? Absolutely. Has he shown that he has a swag that they believe that they want to run through the wall for this man? Absolutely. He has changed the culture of the Raiders in that building. I mean, there was reported 35, 40 guys in the building days after the season was over, still working out, still, getting their body right to make this run. So that right there shows you that, okay, so we have the right guys in the building. Okay. We're right there. And I believe, just say, for instance, which it was reported that C.J. Stroud, Dave Ziegler wanted to get C.J. Stroud. Josh McDaniels exited the deal. I mean, there was a deal already made, already on the table, and he said, no, we're not doing it. He just killed the deal for us to go get C.J. Stroud. Now, I believe if the things played out the way it played out, Josh McDaniels gets let go, Antonio Pierce takes over the last 9 games of the season. If we would have had C.J. Stroud on our team, I truly believe that we would have made the playoffs last year. I don't think those 4 games that we lost with AOC, we would have lost with Stroud. I don't think that we wouldn't have scored any points against Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that we C.J. Stroud would have let Miami come back in that comeback win against Miami. So there were some games there that I feel that if we would have had C.J. Stroud, we would have won those games and we would have made the playoffs, and we would be sitting pretty nice with the franchise quarterback. So I think we would be in agreement right now that we all feel that Antonio Pierce is that guy. So only thing missing right now is that franchise quarterback. Gardner Minshew is a nice little piece. He's the Sam Bradfords. He's the Alex Smiths. He's the Nick Foles. Get you to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. It's not a given. It's a maybe. It's, can we make the playoffs? Are we going to make the playoffs? Are we not going to make the playoffs? Is it going to be this consistent, consistently in the playoffs every year? No. That's the type of quarterback he is. It's not that consistent franchise quarterback play that we need at the most important position on the field. So that's not a no-brainer. We have to move up in this draft to get one of these top quarterbacks. We have to start now changing the scenario, changing the tradition of how we used to do things. We have to change that now. This quarterback draft is deep. They think it could be one of those, drafts like the 1983 draft, with Dan Marino, John Elway, Jim Kelly, those guys, the draft that had Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, this draft has those type of franchise quarterbacks that we have to finally, in first time in forever, get on our team. So, Raider Nation, I ask you, as I played it out for you with several different teams, to you, what is the right blueprint to building a playoff and or Super Bowl team? I feel it's head coach, franchise quarterback. I think we got the franchise. I think we got the head coach in the building. We got to get that franchise quarterback. So that's where just spoiler alert. That's kind of my my thinking, my want in this draft is we got to get a quarterback. So, all right, Raider Nation, I appreciate it. If you like this podcast, subscribe, hit the like button. Follow me on Twitter at Glenn Bowens1. So, Raider Nation, stay up. Ray!